Alles Klotz Productions.
The original Sonic the Hedgehog for the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis was the first game I remember playing. I've been told that I was fascinated by the cartoony characters, the bright colors and fast gameplay. It quickly became my favorite source of entertainment. I wasn't alone. Sonic was a major hit with kids all over. It wouldn't take long before we got a sequel, which was released in 1992. It became the second best-selling game for the Mega Drive after the original. I can't remember the first time I played it because I was too young. What I do know is that I played this game all the time, and I admit more obsessively than other games we had at home. There's even video footage of me playing this game in the mid-90s when I still lived in Sweden. Look at that laser focus in my eyes. I took that shit seriously.
Var fick jag det ifrån? Titta, jag fick 11 liv, pappa!
It was my #1 game until the PlayStation came along, and it remained my favorite 2D platformer for well over 20 years. Until a certain other game came out. However, it has been a few years since I've actually played it. So it begs the question. Is Sonic 2 still the absolute masterpiece I remember, and how does it hold up almost 30 years after its release? I can't wait to play this game again.
GFrom, the gamer, the legend, he's come to show you the way in this world of games. GFrom reviews.
Sonic has to stop Dr. Robotnik from obtaining the Chaos Emeralds to power his Death Egg. That's basically the story of Sonic 2 in one sentence. Or one eggshell? Luckily, Sonic's not alone in his quest. We see that right away at the title screen. Miles Tails Prower was introduced in the 8-bit version of Sonic 2, which came out about a month before this game. But since you've all seen my review of the Master System and Game Gear ports, you already knew that, right? 8-bit Tails is only a fox in distress, whereas he joins the adventure on the Mega Drive. Double the bits and double the chance for Tails to prove himself. For that reason, I always called the game Sonic and Tails when I was a kid. Thank God I couldn't read back then, because I actually read the back of the box out of sheer boredom and I couldn't believe what I saw. The Swedish text doesn't call him Tails, but Fracken. Fracken? What the frack is a Fracken? As far as I know, he's never been called that anywhere else, ever again. Fracken. The gameplay is almost exactly the same as the first, but it makes just the right improvements. When pushing down, the camera doesn't move vertically anymore, at least not instantly. The main reason for that is probably Sonic's new move. The Super Spin Dash. Push the jump button while ducking and Sonic will spin rapidly on the spot. However the hell that works. Releasing the jump button will make you take off into a super fast rolling attack. This helps you get through loops and destroy unarmed enemies. It's probably the most iconic move in Sonic's history, and for good reason. Just hearing the spin dash sound lets you know shit's about to get real. The power-ups are exactly the same as in the first game. Invincibility has a much cleaner look and I prefer it that way. The special stages are handled differently, however. Now you don't need 50 rings at the end of the stage to be able to jump into a giant ring. Instead, you get the chance to enter a special stage at the checkpoint post if you carry 50 rings. This means you have a lot more chances to get the Chaos Emeralds. That doesn't make it easier to get them though. But more on that later. This time around we have an options menu where you can select the playable characters. You can play as either Sonic, Tails or Sonic and Tails. They both play exactly the same. The only difference is that Tails is just a little bit smaller. In case he moves off screen or dies, he'll eventually return. Even though we can see Tails uses 2 tails to fly, it's not a move we can actually use. What a missed opportunity. When you play as both of them, Tails will follow you around and copy your every move. This can be pretty helpful, but also has its downside, which we'll get to in a sec. Tails can also be controlled by a second player for some sweet co-op action. If only I had someone to play with. Oh, well, I think we've covered the basics, so let's check out the levels. Whereas Sonic 1 has 6 zones with 3 acts each, Sonic 2 has 11 zones divided mostly into 2 acts each. Hooray for more variety! Just like Green Hill Zone, Emerald Hill Zone starts off the game with a pretty grassy area full of waterfalls and hills. To me, the brighter colors immediately stick out, and quite frankly, this level just looks beautiful. It is the first stage that comes to mind when I think about Sonic. Even if it's not the best stage in the game, for me it is the Sonic stage. It just feels like home. Both Act 1 and 2 are pretty straightforward, highlighting Sonic's ability to run at absurd speed in the best way possible. We have loops, we have springs, and it all flows smoothly. For explorers, there are quite a few hidden areas to find. They reward you with all kinds of goodies. The enemies are easy with the exception of that goddamn ape throwing coconuts. I've hated this cheap ass primate for almost 30 years. Sonic looks way cooler on the post at the end of Act 1 than in the prequel. He used to look like a goofball, especially on the Game Gear. At the end of Act 2 you face Robotnik. Just like in the previous game, he has a different machine in every fight. It makes you wonder what the Mad Doctor will come up with next. Here he sits in a car with a drill. Whereas it only took 6 hits to beat Robotnik in Sonic 1, in this game he can take 2 additional hits. That doesn't change the fact that this boss fight is ridiculously easy. Even if you somehow touch the drill and lose rings, you'll most likely recoup some of them and beat him in no time. Man, this was a lot of fun. For me, this is as good as a first level can get. It brings me so much joy and gives me serious flashbacks to a more innocent time in my life. Great platforming combined with speed and happy vibes through colorful visuals and upbeat music simply equals a time well spent. Chemical Plant Zone might be the most popular level in Sonic's history. It's hard to argue with that. Instead of giving us a break like Marble Zone did in Sonic 1, Chemical Plant turns up the speed dial to over 9,000. What I love about this level is that it's as non-linear as it gets in a Sonic game from that era. Right at the beginning you have 3 options as to where you want to go and both acts have branching paths. It's probably the fastest level in the game too. You know these boost thingies from later games? Here they make their first appearance. You can get so fast in fact that you literally outrun the screen at times. Simply amazing.
I can feel the adrenaline and the excitement flow through my body. It's like a roller coaster ride, especially if you're a kid in the early 90s hopped up on sugar.
I always found these tubes to be kind of mysterious because they can transport you to 2 different places. I wondered if it's random, so I finally decided to Google it. Apparently, it has to do with the parity of the seconds. If it's an odd number, you go one way, if it's even, you go the other.
Thanks, Internet!
Some of the enemies and obstacles are assholes. The spider can grab you and hold on to you for quite a while. It's the stuff of nightmares. These blue balls look impressive.
I really shouldn't say that.
These blue spheres look impressive.
But just like in real life, it hurts when you touch them.
Act 2 introduces water, or purple toxic liquid. Apparently it's called Mega Mac.
Good to know.
Unlike in Labyrinth Zone, there are no air bubbles here. You really shouldn't stay in there too long, Sonic. Nowadays, this act is no problem for me, but I found this to be very difficult when I was young. I know a lot of people can relate when I say that this part right here bothered me the most. Not only is the Mega Mac rising, but missing the jumps is frustrating and getting squashed by the blocks even more so. You have to beat the boss by constantly jumping on him before he even gets a chance to attack. Watch out, the edge is unstable so you can even fall into the liquid and die after you defeated Robotnik.
But that has never happened to me.
For beginners, Chemical Plant Zone can be a bit overwhelming and the water parts even frightening. But man is it fun to speed through the level and look for secrets. It's a perfect Sonic level. Aquatic Ruin Zone is such a beautiful stage and the music makes me feel like I'm on an adventure. Don't let the friendly look fool you, because this place is out to get you. The poles have some kind of motion sensor. When you pass them, they shoot arrows at you. I always hated this douche coming out of the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, who would later appear in the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Worst of all are these swarms of flies.
God, I hate flies with a passion.
You'd be surprised that this is yet another water stage. This time it's real water though. At least I don't feel like I'm being poisoned. It is possible to avoid the water completely. In Act 1 that's pretty easy. In Act 2 I usually fall down right away.
I should know better by now, but I'm an impatient man.
Luckily the air bubbles are back. But this is a long ass underwater section.
I have a funny memory from when I was like 6 years old. I played this game with a friend, and when I was about to drown, my friend turned around and put his hands in front of his eyes because it was too scary for him. You know why?
That sound has caused trauma for so many children. Even today this stresses me out a bit, especially at this part where I can't get out of the pit 9 times out of 10. Why is this one part so damn difficult? Please, Hammer, don't hurt him! Robotnik is really easy to defeat. You're supposed to jump onto the arrows to reach him, but I just get on top of the pillars instead. I have a great time in Aquatic Ruin Zone. It's rewarding to stay on the surface, and even if you do fall into the water, it's kind of thrilling to get air at the last second.
But hey, there's no more water in this game, so let's celebrate. I know just the place.
It's time to relax. Casino Night Zone has also become a fan favorite. Although I'm annoyed that they beat this to death with a bunch of casino themed levels in later games, this one is a lot of fun. Spring Yard Zone teased the idea of Sonic being kind of like a pinball ball when he's rolling. This stage takes full advantage of that concept with flippers and bumpers all over the place. You can even gamble. Depending on which combination you get, you can win a bunch of rings in the slot machines. Sonic the Hedgehog, teaching kids it's okay to gamble since 1992. Don't push your luck though, you can lose everything you have in a matter of seconds. This time Robotnik went too far.
Kidnapping animals is one thing, but taking away my hard-earned rings? Now I care.
You'll pay for this.
There's only one type of enemy here and he's no big threat. The bumper shield is a bit annoying, that's all. Getting crushed by giant blocks is an option too. It can be irritating to navigate through this place because you bounce all over the place. It's easy to lose your sense of time here because the flipper mechanics are really fun. Both acts are huge and offer a lot of room to explore and stuff to do. At the beginning of Act 2, there's this long row of bars, and as a kid I always wondered how to get in there. Such a rewarding feeling when you finally figure it out and get tons of points. The boss can be tricky at first, but as long as you don't use the flippers, you should be fine. Wall jumps are the key to success here. Although it's one of the slower levels, it shows that you can have just as much fun with stage gimmicks as long as they make sense and keep you entertained. It's such a weird concept, but it actually works really well. I applaud the developers for coming up with all these crazy ideas. It looks amazing too, by the way.
Makes me feel like I'm in a coked up version of Las Vegas. Wait.
Hilltop Zone used to be the most forgettable one for me. That certainly isn't the case anymore. There are no forgettable zones in this game. Visually, it kind of resembles Sky High Zone from the 8-bit game. I've come to appreciate this level quite a bit over the years. At first, it looks friendly with a bright blue sky and grassy areas. Soon enough, you'll get Marble Zone flashbacks because of the lava everywhere. The seesaws from Starlight Zone are back, but this time with a pissed off little red-headed bald guy. I don't know why, but the look on his face cracks me up. The occasional earthquake can make your life miserable as the lava is rising, blocking your way out of a cave in the process. Gotta go fast! The earthquake in this huge cave can be quite stressful, but the game is kind enough to provide power-ups to make your life easier. Why is the end post in Act 1 so far on the right? This will bother me for the rest of my life. Just like in Chemical Plant Zone, the submarine boss can be defeated quickly by just jumping on it over and over. Hilltop Zone is yet another slow stage, but it's really good. I'm down with platform-based levels in Sonic games. Mystic Cave Zone gave me the creeps as a kid. It's the darkest zone in the game and I love the aesthetics. The use of purple and green gives the cave a unique look and it's awesome. There's a noticeable rise in difficulty compared to the earlier stages. There are spikes, you can get crushed, and there are fireflies that I've always hated like my worst enemy. You can't destroy them when the light is on. And this thing right here is called Crawlton. Now why does that make me think of a certain character from a 90s sitcom? You can lower these bridges by hanging on switches. Oh man, did I rhyme? Act 2 is notorious for having a spike pit which you can't escape from. I'm not even doing this on purpose, it's so easy to fall down here. This level is fun to explore as it also has many different paths you can take. The boss is interesting. Robotnik drills holes into the roof, making rocks and stalactites fall down on you. Luckily, the rocks don't hurt you. It is one of the more challenging boss fights, but I wouldn't call it brutal. Also, it's nice to have a level that runs you through your paces but challenges you in a fair way. Except the pit. Fuck the pit. I have a love-hate relationship with Oil Ocean Zone. I love the look of this stage with the nice orange background. There are some fun elements here, including oil slides and these weird cannons that shoot you all over the place. Granted, you don't do anything while this happens, but as a kid, I thought it was cool. Other than that, it's slow going.
Usually I don't mind that, but here they got a little carried away.
I don't like waiting for these green platforms, and the fans block your way too often in my opinion. You don't die immediately when you fall into the oil as long as you jump constantly. I was never a big fan of this mechanic. Also, what's the point of these springs that you have to push? What's wrong with the usual springs? And these things look scary. Just saying. I like that you have 3 different paths at the beginning of Act 2. As a kid, I discovered a weird glitch. While stepping on the green platform to the right, push right before reaching the top and land on the spikes. For some odd reason, Sonic gets super fast and can jump really high. It's like Super Sonic, but on fucking speed.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about Super Sonic later. When I told this to my friends in school, no one believed me. But the look on their faces when I showed them, pure gold.
It seems to be a well-known glitch by now, but I'm glad that I discovered it myself. It was a special moment in my young gaming life. I used to find the boss very difficult. Robotnik doesn't really do anything, but when he isn't visible, he first shoots some sort of harpoon or metallic snake. After that, another snake thingy shoots lasers at you. I love the effect when the laser hits the ground. When you know what to expect, it's no big deal. If you want to do it the easy way, you can always hide under the platform and jump.
If I had to choose one stage in this game that I could do without, it's definitely this one.
Why Oil Ocean Zone of all stages was remade in Sonic Mania is beyond me. It seems to me that Metropolis Zone is universally hated. Let's explore why that is. On the surface, it looks like an amazing level full of challenging elements. As a child, I was afraid of the crushers. It has a nice mix of slow sections like navigating over these arrow boxes and parts that are just crazy. Doing, 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 doing. The end of Act 1 has this really awesome never-ending pit. I love just falling down endlessly for the hell of it. The metal nuts keep slowing things down though. Sometimes it takes forever to get to the top. It doesn't help that there are these stars everywhere. They explode when you get too close to them. That's especially frustrating on the metal nuts. Falling down often means you have to leave the area and come back again in order for the metal nuts to respawn. I hate that.
Speaking of enemies, Jesus Christ, what happened here?
First we have these stupid crabs. You can only kill them by jumping on them from above or behind. It's ridiculous how precise you have to be. Often they are placed in very narrow spots or blocking the way to these tubes and you can't touch their arm. How am I supposed to beat this guy without taking a hit? It's bullshit and you know it.
But that's not even the worst enemy. The #1 crowned and royal asshole badnik of them all are the slicers.
Fuck these douchebags. They throw their claws at you and they stand in the most inconvenient places you can think of. Often there's no time to react to them unless you already know where they are. It's the definition of bad game design. Once they throw their claws, they can't attack you a second time. But by then I usually have already lost my rings, so thanks for nothing. The biggest FU of all is that this is the only stage with 3 acts. Yep, 2 acts weren't enough. More pain and agony for you. The reward for all this is the hardest boss in the entire game. Hard only because it's difficult to land a hit without getting hurt. For every hit on Robotnik, a weird copy of Robotnik appears and just bounces along with no real harm. The more times you hit him, the easier it gets.
So why is Oil Ocean my least favorite zone and not this one? Here's why.
I do hate the enemies and I wish them nothing but eternal pain. But when this level is fun, it's really fun. I'd rather have a mix of emotions than a stage that's utterly boring. With different enemies, this level could have been one of the best. We're taking off into the sky as we approach the final 3 stages of this game, each having just 1 act. Sky Chase Zone, much like the previous stage, gets much hate on the internet. I can kind of understand why, because this, just like Act 2 of Bridge Zone in Sonic 1 on the Master System, is an auto-scroller. What's even more unique about it is that you're on a plane called Tornado. From time to time birds will fly at you, but they're pretty much harmless. Those baby turtles are pretty cute, but they use their mamas to shoot fireballs. You can get rid of the babies and stand on the bigger turtles just because. The biggest threat are probably these propeller badniks that drop spiked balls when you get near them. The controls can take a while to get used to. You need to know that the plane isn't as fast as Sonic or Tails. Performing the super spin dash is possible, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Mostly you'll be fine, but you could outrun the plane and fall to your doom.
Dying means repeating the entire stage from the beginning. The stage is only about 2 minutes long, but if you die more than once, I understand that it can become tedious. It's a slow stage and often not much is happening. I still like it as it gives me a much needed break after Metropolis Zone. In combination with the soothing music, it gives me a feeling of walking on clouds with no care in the world except baby turtles trying to kill me. It's actually really easy. Stay on the left side of the screen and don't use the spin dash. That's it. We even fly past a much bigger plane. When I saw that the first time, I was amazed by the sheer size and I thought it would hurt me. That of course isn't the case. This is the only zone with no boss fight. I can live with that. Now shit is getting serious. Wing Fortress Zone starts off with the tornado being attacked. Sonic, or Tails, manages to jump onto the giant plane we saw earlier while the tornado disappears visibly damaged from the screen. Let's hope the pilot somehow makes it. The music is so much different in this stage and it gives it a really serious tone. I had huge respect for this level for this reason alone as a kid. Plus, even if you play as Sonic and Tails, Sonic has to beat the rest of the game alone. Hanging onto the bars right next to the fucking flames still freaks me out. That's because the jumping mechanics here feel stiff as hell. In all seriousness, the stage isn't really that hard. There are two thrilling moments that stick out. First, this part. I don't even have to explain why this is awesome. The most dangerous part is this one with the disappearing platforms. Don't take too much time or you will fall to your doom. We have to go inside to get to the boss fight. Robotnik hides behind a force field like a little bitch. You have to destroy the laser while dodging floating platforms with spikes under them. It can be quite stressful as you only have a short window to land a hit. After that, Robotnik runs off. Don't forget the hidden one up to the right before we get to see a cutscene. Robotnik takes off towards space and look who's back! Tails repaired the tornado and now we chase the aircraft. Sonic hangs onto it and for some reason he can breathe in space.
I'm not gonna start questioning logic in a game about a speeding blue hedgehog and his two-tailed fox buddy.
I always thought the cutscene was epic, but there's one downside. In the original Mega Drive version, the timer doesn't stop. So if you reach 10 minutes during the cutscene, you die and have to defeat the boss again. Beyond lame. All in all, it's a great stage with tense moments. It gives you the feeling that something big is about to happen. So what happens next? We've reached the final level. Death Egg Zone takes place on Dr. Robotnik's space rocket.
It has its own music, but it changes to the boss theme after leaving the first screen. So I've always wondered why they even bothered.
Right at the beginning we have to battle Mecha Sonic. Not Silver Sonic, not Metal Sonic, but Mecha Sonic. Of all the robotic versions of Sonic, this one's my favorite. I love the badass design. Back then I had real trouble beating him. He has many different attacks. The little fact that there are no rings in this stage doesn't make things easier. Nowadays I can beat him in a matter of seconds because I've played the game 7.5 million times, but I still think it's a cool fight. All while Robotnik is watching from a safe distance. Beating Mecha Sonic forces Robotnik out of hiding and you have to chase him. No matter how fast you are, it's impossible to catch him. Does Robotnik have speed shoes just like Sonic? He jumps into a machine and... holy crap! This thing is huge! Sonic clearly doesn't give a shit. At first I didn't know what to do and I got many game overs when I got here the first time at the age of maybe 6 or 7. You can hit the Death Egg robot in the front or the back. You have to be very careful not to touch the spiky arms or the flames. After a while the robot flies into the air so it can stomp us. Depending on where you stand, you will either end up in front of it or behind. I always make sure that it lands on this spot right here and get behind it. 2 little robot bombs will launch and you have enough room to avoid them. The front is far more dangerous as the robot shoots its arms at you. It's a long fight because you have to land 12 hits. Dying on this boss means repeating the entire stage. Yep, even the fight with Mecha Sonic. After all these years, I still get sweaty hands here because it's so intense and every tiny mistake is fatal. With patience and precision, you will eventually beat the final boss and the Death Egg explodes as we jump off of it. Even though it's a short level, it is oh so epic and much more worthy of a final battle than the fight in Sonic 1. Playing as Sonic gives us some illustrations to look at. We see that Tails and some other animals look into the sky. Realizing what is happening, Tails gets in the tornado and takes off. Meanwhile we see Sonic, or Tails, fall from the sky only to be saved by Tails, or Sonic. Because fuck gravity, man! Depending on who you play as, you see different birds joining you on your way home. It ends with a cool pose and a sweet medley over the credits. I love the ending and I found it very rewarding when I saw it the first time.
I still remember when I beat the game the first time. It was on April 1st of either 97 or 98. When I told my mom that I finally beat Sonic 2, she didn't believe me because I had pulled too many stupid pranks on that day already. I don't blame her.
Nowadays, the ending makes me feel so nostalgic and every time I think of that story. But haven't I forgotten something?
We haven't really talked about the special stages yet. These are much different than in the first game.
This time we're on an endless half-pipe. The goal is to collect a certain number of rings in 3 rounds. Not getting enough rings in a round makes you lose the special stage. Getting hit by a bomb causes you to drop some of your rings, which makes it difficult to reach the goal. Now let me say right away that the 3D look of these stages really impressed me when I first saw them. It was like something from the future. I might be in the minority on this, but I think the controls are really great as well. I love that you can leap from one side to the other if you hold the directional button. The first couple of stages are pretty easy as the patterns of the rings and bombs are quite predictable. The later ones are much more difficult and because of the limited view, you don't get much time to react to the bombs. This can get aggravating. Whereas there were only 6 Chaos Emeralds in Sonic 1, this game has 7. And that last special stage is tough as nails. There are bombs everywhere and getting rings is harder than ever.
Although I've beaten Sonic 2 many times over the years, I rarely get all the Chaos Emeralds, especially when I play with both Sonic and Tails.
Tails mimics your every move with a slight delay, making him run into bombs and losing rings incessantly. Just when you thought you've reached your goal, Miles frackin' Prower comes along and fracks up everything.
For this reason alone, I mostly play with only one character. Otherwise, I barely have a chance to get all the Chaos Emeralds. But when you do, oh boy, are you in for a treat.
So, you've gotten all the Chaos Emeralds. Here's one of the greatest rewards in video game history, but only if you play as Sonic. Collect 50 rings, jump, and holy lord, the savior has come! Sonic turns into Super Sonic, and this is just awesome. Believe it or not, he's even faster than Sonic, can jump higher, and he is almost invincible. He destroys enemies by just touching them. Super Sonic can still get crushed, drowned, or get killed by a bottomless pit, but other than that, he's a yellow killing machine. Just keep in mind that you lose rings every second. Remember the pit in Mystic Cave Zone? You don't want to get stuck here with Super Sonic. Trust me. You turn back into regular Sonic when reaching 0 rings. Usually I get him in Wing Fortress Zone, which is way too late. Thankfully, this game has cheats, which I once again discovered on the back of Sonic candy. Gotta love the 90s. First, there's the level select cheat, and in that new menu you can put in the Super Sonic code. The funny thing is that I still know these codes by heart after all these years. And even if I do forget them, I still know the order of the melodies.
So as a kid, I never got Super Sonic legit, but I didn't care.
With these cheats, I could play as him through the entire game. Some levels were over in seconds, but that's part of the fun. You have to watch out after finishing a level. If you have over 50 rings and jump, the game might get stuck and you have to restart. With these cheats, I discovered even more fun stuff, like the slow motion mode when you pause the game and push either B or C. It was so cool to see every frame of Super Sonic's transformation.
In school, we would fantasize about what other hidden things there could be in this game. For some reason, I still remember 2 particularly dumb ideas.
First, a cheat where Sonic would get saber teeth, and then one where Sonic would turn into a potato. I guess we invented memes before they were even a thing.
This game has even more to offer. There's a 2-player versus mode. If only I had someone to play with. Did somebody say 2-player mode? Yeah, whatever, sit down and play.
In the 2-player mode you have 4 stages to choose from. Emerald Hill, Mystic Cave, Casino Night and Special Stages.
Player 1 is Sonic and player 2 is Tails. I wanna play as Sonic. Tails plays just like Sonic, so shut up.
The regular zones have different music than in the 1-player mode, which I think is a nice touch. The players compete in 5 areas: score, time, rings held at the end of the level, total rings collected, and number of item boxes broken. You never know what's inside the item boxes, which is why it's risky to get them. You could accidentally give the other player an extra life, or you could take damage if you get Robotnik. The teleporter makes the players switch places, which can either be a blessing or the most aggravating thing in the world.
Man, I was so close to the end. No, you weren't.
Should there be a tie in a stage, you both enter a special stage. The special stages are the worst with 2 players. One player is always in the front and by jumping you switch places. So it's just constant jumping to get to the front. Even though it kind of looks bad with a crunched screen and everything, me and my brother played this mode a lot back then. Sadly, I hadn't played this mode in well over 20 years before this. I wish I could play against a worthy opponent someday.
Man, this mode sucks. You have to practice, my friend. You want to play the 1-player mode to gain some experience? Hell yeah!
In the one-player mode, a second player can take control of Tails. That's great for dealing with certain enemies and especially the boss fights. Tails can't lose rings, but most of the time it looks like this.
Hey, wait for me! Where the fuck am I? Not so fast! Man, this sucks my will to live!
Again, the special stages don't really work for two players, especially when the second player sucks and gets hit all the time.
I'm sorry, I'm trying!
So yeah, this is not a great co-op experience. It's perfect for giving your little brother the controller so he can pretend to be helping. Other than that, it's mostly frustrating for the second player.
We've reached Sky Chase Zone, I don't need you anymore. Time to fuck off. Thank God.
There's one thing left before we get to the conclusion, and that's the music. In short, it's amazing. It improves on the already great soundtrack from the first game in every way. There are only two songs I don't care about. Casino Night is just okay for me, and Death Egg sounds really out of place. Not my favorite scrambled egg. Good thing it only plays for a few seconds. The boss theme is classic, but I prefer the one from the first game by a mile. Every other track is among the best you can find on the Mega Drive, maybe only overshadowed by Streets of Rage 1 and 2.
Foxes and Hedgehogs, here are my top 10 songs from Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Number 10. Hilltop doesn't have a spectacular track, but I dig the relaxing atmosphere it creates. Super enjoyable. Number 9. This one instantly puts me in a good mood. It's so friendly and positive. Number 8. The music is the best part about the special stages. That bass line is seriously intense. Number 7. This one is emotional for me. The song is inspired by Sweet Dreams by Dreams Come True. You should check it out if you get the chance. It's just as beautiful as the 16-bit rendition. Number 6. This one is way better than in the one-player mode. The track is groovy as hell. Number 5. This tune gives me so much energy and makes it even more fun to destroy every badnik in sight. Way better than the one we would later get in Sonic and Knuckles. Number 4. By far the best tune for a first level in a Sonic game for me. I dare you not to feel happy listening to this. Number 3. Metropolis might be annoying level-wise, but the music pushes you to keep going and beat the odds. It's one of the most memorable tracks of the series. Number 2. For many people, this is the best Sonic track, period. It's also one of my absolute favorites, and there are days where I think it's the best. It just rocks. Number 1. I often forget this tune because I don't get to play the two-player mode anymore. But damn! Every time I hear it, I'm amazed by it. I'm glad they used this for the Hidden Palace Zone in the remastered version. It's perfect.
Let's wrap this up.
If you couldn't tell by now, I have a deep attachment to this game. But that's not just nostalgia speaking. Everything that made the original so great is even better here. The Super Spin Dash is a great mechanic, and it's impossible to imagine a world where it doesn't exist. Visually, it is one of the best looking games on the system for me. Every level looks great, and I love the cartoony style of the characters. The music is fantastic and holds up really well even today.
It's a game I can pick up and play anytime.
There's lots to explore, and I'm certain I still haven't found every secret. It's still one of the best games I have ever played, and it holds a special place in my heart. Ranking the Sonic games I've reviewed so far is easy. Of course, Sonic 2 takes the top spot. Before Sonic Mania came out, this was not only my favorite Sonic game, but also my favorite Sega game and my #1 2D platformer. There are many ways to play it nowadays, and the game has even been remastered. Personally, I prefer playing my original cartridge on the Mega Drive, even if the sun hasn't been so nice to the colors of the cover.
Because when I play this game with a big old smile on my face, it feels like my childhood is giving me a warm hug.
Hey everyone, this is GFrom. Thank you so much for watching my video. Feel free to rate, comment, subscribe and follow me on social media. I'll see you later. Have a nice day.